All right, so now I've got some ideas shifting around after this newest chapter because one, I didn't think the main cast would split up this quickly. Obviously, it makes sense. Asta's got Finral with him, and Finral being Portal Man, he can get them around much faster than just normally traveling. Now, the bigger thing that'll really go on is Megicula. Megicula specifically being stated to be within the body of Vanica, which then opens up the question of what about Dante, which is going to be, I think, one of the more intriguing things in this arc. And actually, I really like the decision because it, one, pushes more for Noel's personal, battle against Vanica versus, everybody eventually gets Megicula. And it makes it so instead of Megicula being this overarching, above the Dark Triad, it looks like, I think from what we can all assume, is that Megicula will be not in that top position. It will actually be potentially somebody above him. But that actually does look to be hinting that Megicula will be a female demon, not just being paired up with Vanica, but when you see the shape, like a further showing of the shape of said character behind Vanica, it looks like there's some hips and some curves to him. And obviously, Megicula being a devil doesn't have to abide by that of more human nature. But I think it's at least reasonable enough to really go on it. And that's one of the reasons also I think that Noelle is going to get Undine at some point, possibly the death of Loro. Because then you're going to have Vanica with Megicula and Noelle with Undine. It's just something I can see really kind of making sense. Tabata really likes to draw parallels between characters, doing like these mirrored versions of them, which is fun. I do like that. I do think it's pretty good. But chapter starts out, we actually have, I didn't notice this until, a little bit after the first time I read it. Probably about read it, realized afterwards, read it again. Oh yeah, you have not just Laura, but you got Mimosa, Charmy, Noelle. You have pretty much all the main focus girls right now. The only and Sekri, so that's another one. So you got another one all up there. I can't really think of any others that would be more important to include right now. I know obviously you got big female character. You got Dorothy, Charlotte, Marileona, but I wouldn't put them as main spotlight as these, and obviously Loro having a higher precedence as the queen of this kingdom that they're allying with right now, and then Noelle, main female. Mimosa, very important, but still, it's still pretty in there with her healing capabilities, and she's still pretty liked as a character. But once they're all just, they're having fun, they're just kind of chatting, and you got Charmy just being Charmy, which I'm wondering if Charmy is going to stay fat forever, or if, she's going to, shift in between her form. Maybe she'll have to, fatter in this form means that she'll be stronger going into her dwarf, half dwarf form. I don't know, but we see Laura obviously take note of now that there are a bunch of there are a bunch of demon powered people in the country, and out of them there is one person really to note. There is one person to take advantage of, take notice of, that being Vanica, of the Dark Triad, and being possessed by Megicula. Now, like I said, that's going to be big for Noelle, because I think everybody, once we saw the Dark Triad and really think about it, because you have three of them, you have the main three of Black Clover, you have Asta, and Noelle. We saw that Zeno is going to be the opposing member for we know that Vanica, now especially since she's tied to Megicula, I think we can make it out as just the fact that she's their female character, and it's always assumed when you have stuff like that. It doesn't have to be facts, but it's easy. It's an easy kind of way to tie them. The female characters will fight each other, but from that now we see Megicula involved in that and being related into Noelle's backstory. That is just hammering it home, and then Dante, who. I think we can all just assume right now Dante is the strongest out of the three, and Asta being the main character, it makes sense why he would go, be paired up with the main one to really note. Originally I thought it'd be more Dante and versus Zeno versus Asta, and that being more of and his relations to the Spade Kingdom. Maybe it would be the way to overtake him, but I'm perfectly okay with this. And one thing to note is when you see Dante show up, because Henry senses, well, I don't think he even really senses. I think it's because he's messing with the Black Bull's base, not just magic sensing. But I don't think Henry's known for magic sensing. And it makes more sense because that would be the point where he lifts up the house. him having like sensory inside the house makes sense with his specific magic, but from that we see that he's lifted this house up. He's using his magic. What we find out is gravity magic. And also just thinking about it with his curse. I in the middle of this I was thinking about if Henry ended up getting like arcane stage, what would his be? Because we know he's cursed, and his seems to be a very powerful curse. So it could lead into it. We don't know. And maybe it'd be like I just thought of like a house centipede. Maybe houses that he touches with his house will like absorb into it. And I'm just marrying some Voltron shit. There's constantly linking in, and eventually he's like a whole city, which would be super badass. The mobile city of the Clover Kingdom, maybe one day. Anyway, but you have him. You got the Henry pulling out the Raging Black Bull. You have him like using his like rocket punch, and then you have Gauche using his large reflect refrain, shooting lasers at him. But Dante's not up for that. Dante just uses gravity magic, which cool name, Presence of the Demon King. I'd like that where it just is like an AoE one, where it's just, nope, your spells are not getting to me. And, them just dropping straight on the ground. But obviously one that he had to move out of, Asta coming to this Black Slash, is using his anti-magic. Obviously it's not going to work the same with gravity magic against anti-magic. But there is a really interesting thing to note there that I know I've brought up to some people, and I'm sure there aren't a lot of people that know this without reading Tabata's other works. But there was a note about Dante's talking about Vanessa's magic and saying how she's stage 0, and then there was like, I guess in the raws hints that arcane stage might just be the officials might just be mistranslation, which happens even though they're the official volume. If they aren't, maybe it's a translation issue, which again happens all the time, then you would go with what the more accurate one is to the Japanese. Only in the case where it's inaccurate, instead of just like well, it could be interpreted this way if you're using Japanese language. Yeah, there's a difference between, taking a word that could have multiple meanings versus, just being incorrect, But the thing to note, and that's what I want to talk about, really the primary focus of my thoughts of this chapter. The rest of it was more of like, because some interesting stuff, some stuff being set up, Megicula not being with Dante, or even being overarched over the 3 of the Dark Triad, specifically being with Fanica, was interesting. For her sake, but to me, I'm more interested with Dante because of that reveal. Because I think a lot of people assumed that Megicula was going to be the main devil of the Spade Kingdom, but Dante being the assumed leader of the Dark Triad, the assumed strongest, I think it's obvious. He's in the middle. He's got the biggest crown. I think we can all know standard anime manga visuals and way characters are represented, that we can go about that. But it's the question then of who's Dante's demon? Who's his devil? Because we don't know Zeno's, but his is a mystery, and it's a different devil. Whereas with Dante's, it's more of a question of, I want to say, the devil hierarchy, because I would imagine if the strongest devil goes with the strongest guy, then his devil is gonna, want to be, it's gonna really be more powerful than that of Megicula, and Megicula won't be, the big shot of these devils that we're gonna see this arc. And it's just the name of his spell, his whole like Presence of the Demon King. Like maybe it turns out like it's hinting that his devil is gonna be the Demon King. And maybe like at the end of this arc, they kind of like have to push him back into the the realm where all the demons are from. So I imagine like with this whole Spade War, it'll go about the same length of like the Elf Resurrection, like all of them. So we're a little over 200 chapters. If by the end of this we're really setting up to like go into the whole into the realm of all these other demons and different realms, then 200 plus after that, ending somewhere in like the 600s to 700s would really fit like the ideas and layouts that have been set up in Black Clover. But another thing, like I said, I don't think a lot of people noticed, is that actually is a small notice just from me, is like thinking about it, is Asta's like mark on his headband actually makes me now think a little bit of these devil marks, which we know isn't the style of his devil mark, but it's something to kind of look at and go, I wonder if that's just foreshadowing or if it's just, the design. But if you've read Tabata's previous series, Hungry Joker, you'd know that the mark on Dante's head is the same style that was on the main character, I believe, I'm trying to remember exactly how to pronounce him, Hage, His power was he can manipulate gravity because he had Newton's apple, the apple that was it Isaac Newton? Listen, I'm not going to be able to 100% without rereading it, but you know what I mean. It was this apple, from a scientific discovery. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm gonna feel dumb if I look it up at somebody else, but and it's this apple that can manipulate gravity, and he'd take a bite out of it, and after that point, he had the ability to manipulate gravity because in that series, all the characters' powers stemmed from items that were from huge advancements in scientific discovery, and whatever those advancements were had to do with whatever your power was. So now you have the power of the previous main character of him fighting the current main character, which I actually really like. I think that's a really cool way to do it. I personally really would have liked the gravity magic to be, this is my personal preference in this whole scenario, is them having the Spade Kingdom having an Asta equivalent, some really powerful up and coming youngster that is able to maybe be seen not as evil on their side. Maybe it would be a character that shows that they have, even though there's bad people in Spade Kingdom, they still have normal aspects about them. I don't know, give him gravity magic, but I still like this as well because regardless of the fact, I really like the idea of an antagonist having the main character of a previous series powers against the current one. It just has a really nice little extra bit to it that I think anybody could look at it and be like, wow, that's actually that's pretty fun, because I imagine, I can't confirm this, but I think I speak from enough series that I've seen to really be able to kind of be like, yeah, I think I can say this with confidence. It's when you have these authors that write up these series, and the main character especially, you're gonna think of their powers and stuff, their abilities, their techniques, and when you get a series that's axed, like Hungry Joker, unfortunately wasn't doing well enough to really continue, which. Some of the characters I really liked. The power system I loved. I thought it was really unique. But the main character especially, I think the author will have a lot of things way ahead of where the current spot of the series is at. And, when the series gets axed, when it gets rush canceled, there's always those moments where the author is desperately trying to, do something drastic in order to hopefully get numbers up so they don't get canceled. But one of the signs is them rushing out stuff like powers and forms that you could tell would be something from way later. And I imagine that there's a lot of stuff that Tabata had for his previous main character with gravity powers that he's going to end up using through Dante. And we got to see some cool stuff at the end of Hungry Joker, and those rushing stuff, like him popping up a black hole. But I do really want to see that. And it won't be, I'm going to be perfectly honest, because I know that there's going to be somebody that will disagree with me when I say it, just because I've been arguing with people about consistent really recently. If he makes a magic black hole and Asta cuts it, it's still impressive. It just means that, he can deal with magic of that, some crazy stuff like that, if he ends up doing it. But I wouldn't say that Asta then scales to a black hole. I think that would be beyond, consistency with Black Clover, because then it would be before you say take Dullster. No, I still think that with Fairy Toe and Blue Note dropped his black hole, and obviously if you freak out my channel, I'm a big Fairy Toe fan. Even though that was a really cool scene, it's a black hole even of that size would be so ridiculously above what any character of their level is capable of logically and consistently that it's just one of those write-off outliers. And if two series I really like, I can say, yeah, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. It'd be cool, but it'd be so beyond what they should be capable of. It's a little crazy. Anyway, like I said, it's going to be really cool to see these characters face off. But the mystery now of who Dante's devil is going to be, I think, one of my driving mindsets of Black Clover right now. And I might even do a video of just specifically that idea, because I think that holds a lot of potential just looking at that question. And I already got other stuff like where's Marileona, where's Zora, where's Yami, other characters that I just really want to see post-time skip. But when it comes to the plot, I think that this is a very interesting plot twist that isn't emphasized, but it's one to really look at and, and say, what does this mean for this guy then? Because I think if it was assumed that if it was only one of them, Megicula would be on Dante, but it doesn't look like Megicula's even going to be the big head honcho devil for this arc. So we'll see. We'll see where things go from here. But other than that, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter. Tell me your thoughts about things that are coming up. We got an early week. It was nice after a week off for Tabata. I hope he's rested. Hope he's good. But we got 9 days, unfortunately, until the next chapter of Black Clover drops. So we just gotta hold out until that next one. I'm sure we can, knowing that he's gonna get a little extra time to rest in between. What was a break, and now he's got 9 days between the next chapter instead of 7. Take a little bit extra, relax. But other than that, thumbs up the video, press the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But than that, I appreciate you already subscribed. Thank you all for listening.